So today I'm going to be fitting the cube speed short shifter in my R33 Skyline. Yeah, the reason I'm doing it is that when I bought the car it came with a cheap Chinese short shifter in it, which I think is modelled off like a B&M short shifter from like 20 years ago. And basically what happens is it just comes with the actual shift rod and none of the bushes or anything like that. It just doesn't fit right with all the original bushings and stuff, so it just rattles around all over the place and it does my head in when I'm driving. It's really annoying. Yeah, bought the cube speed Pro short shifter. You can get it from there. If you're in Australia, it's www.cubespeed.com.au. I actually bought mine from VIP Motorsports. I'll stick a link to it in the description down below. It was pretty expensive. I think it was like 180 something. Yeah, expensive shifter, but from what I've seen from the videos, yeah, they're just a lot better made than the cheap ones. You can actually buy short shifters for the Skyline for like 20-30 quid, but it's just going to be the same as the one that's in it, and it's just going to rattle and do my head in. So yeah, let's get on with fitting this. So this is the problem with the old one. So I'm in first gear there, and there's just so much play. You can actually move it up and down because, oh, pulled the gear knob off, that saved me a job. But yeah, you can actually pull the whole shifter up and down because there's so much slack in it. Let's pull this off now and then we'll get the other one in. It is literally just, yeah, that ashtray out, and then there is 2 screws behind here, 2 screws, one there, and then this whole gear surround pops out. So once you've got that out, there is just an LED there for the cigarette lighter. Mine doesn't clip in properly for some reason, so it was already out. And then there is just the wiring harness for the back of the cigarette lighter. So that is the rig now. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so that pops off there, and then once those wires are off, the whole thing pops out. This is my makeshift sound deadening. This is normally here, and so I put this in because I was trying to quieten down the noise of the shifter. It did actually work quite well, so if you're having the same problem, doing that does actually deaden the sound a little bit. So yeah, once that is off, there's just these 10mm bolts holding the gate around it, so I'm just gonna pop those off now, and then pop the skater off. Yeah, so once you've got those bolts out, that just pops off like that. I'm not sure if this has all been put back together properly, so it may be slightly different in yours. I think there are bits and pieces missing out of this, so it could be slightly different if you've got another one. But this is the old short shifter, and as you can see, there is gearbox oil all over it because it's not been sealing properly. Yeah, that is the movement in it. I don't know if camera pick it up down there, but yeah, it's not great. Yeah, and like I say, there's gearbox oil leaking out of it. I don't know how much gearbox oil I've got left in my gearbox because it's been leaking. So I'm gonna pull this shifter out now. It is just the four Allen keys around the outside to get it off. The original shifter is totally different, so yeah, it will be different if you got the original shifter in it. I'm going to take these 4 Allen keys out, and then that is just clamped around the top. So once you've taken those 4 Allen keys out, it'll all just pull out. So you can see how crappily these fit. Like, I'm literally just turning that with my hand now, and the whole thing moves. So you can actually just take 2 of the bolts out and loosen the other 2 off, and the whole thing will come off. It's just clamped with little clamps like that, so it does actually make it easier when you're putting it on as well to do it that way, and then you can just slide the other one around. So that is off. 100% sure that none of this has been put together right. I've actually had it apart before just to have a look to see what was wrong with the shifter before I ordered one up, and somebody has put like seals on the outside of the shifter, so I'm pretty sure they're not meant to be there because they're all covered in gearbox oil. Basically, that once you've got that clamp off, that whole shifter will come out like that. Yeah, this is where all the play is. You can see there. It's just absolutely pants. That's the original bushing, so yeah, just so much play in it. Yeah, there is a random little shim there that you don't want to lose, and that seal, which I'm fairly sure is not going to be in there either. So this is cube speed shifter. You can see there's quite a substantial amount of parts in this compared to the other one. As you can see, there's all kinds of bushings, and the shifter is in three parts. There's, yeah, just so much more to it than the other one. So that's all the parts out. Ugh. Does actually come with instructions as well, so Got some stickers in there. Such an Australian catchphrase. But yeah, cool. So this is to get the old shifter out. Like I say, the factory one is totally different. It doesn't have that clamp around it. It actually has a circlip in this piece. That's a bit of a hassle to get out from what I've seen. So if you've got the factory shifter, instead of that, the four Allen keys clamping it, it does have it has a circlip. There's two types of the plates at the top on these RB gearboxes, and you can see that there's a 17mm headed bolt there. If yours has that 17mm headed bolt, you do actually have to change it to make space, so they give you this Allen key bolt to put in its place. Yeah, I have to change this one as well. It sits right next to the shifter for a shorter Allen key bolt like that. Yeah, so I'm going to try and get this out now. Because mine used to be an automatic, the hole actually sits further back, so it's going to make this one a little bit difficult to get out. But I'm hoping if I just get a spanner on it, I can just about get it without stripping it. I'm hoping. Oh yeah, it's not too tight anyway. So yeah, I'm going to pull that bolt out there, and then this 12mm bolt as well, and then replace them with the Allen key bolt. So that is the 17mm bolt that came out of this hole down here. That gets replaced with this Allen key one. It doesn't say anything about putting a washer on it, and it doesn't look like it has a washer in the photo, so I'm not going to put one on just in case it affects the clearance. This is the 12mm headed one that came out of that side, and that gets replaced with one of these bolts. I've put a rubber glove just in the hole just to stop me from dropping anything in it while I'm working around there. There we go, so they're in there. I'm just going to tighten them up now. Yeah, so got both those bolts in. I actually couldn't get the Allen key into the top of this one because of the tunnel. I ended up using a pair of mole grips to tighten it up, and I've managed to get it what seems pretty tight. I've seen other people do it, and they've actually cut like a little section out here so that they can get to the top of the bolt, but I didn't really want to cut into the tunnel. I've got it as tight as I can possibly get it with a set of mole grips, which I think should be enough, and then this bolt's tightened up, which is a 5mm Allen key, and you can just about get into that one. So next up, take the glove out, and then this spacer ring goes in first. So you don't actually need this piece anymore. I wasn't sure if you need it or not, but yeah, that spacer ring goes in next, and then the pivot cup, so that goes in there like that. So I was trying to figure out why everything didn't seem to line up and was sticking way too out. It's because it already actually had a spacer in it from the last shifter. Yeah, just make sure you've got that out. I didn't see it as clearly because this one's actually silver and it was the same color as the gearbox, everything else in the gearbox, so I couldn't really tell. So just, yeah, if you've got a short shifter in there already, just make sure you take that out. And then the black one that comes in the kit just drops in there. And then your bush next. So I've just put a bit of copper grease on the end of there, and this is the bush that it wants to go in, so that just wants to sit in there. And there is a nut for tightening it up in the kit, so I've just put that on the top to stop me damaging the threads when I hit it. There we go, that's on there now. You just want to hit it until it snaps into place, and it'll pivot on the end of the ball like that. So that's on there now. Let's go and chuck it in the car. And then your shifter wants to go in with, I don't know if you can see, there's a slight bend in the top of the shifter there, like a little swan neck. The bend wants to come back towards the back of the car where you sit. So just try and get this in now. It's there can be a bit of a fiddle to get the bottom bush through the lever, but they do go in. So it took a bit of fiddling around, but it's in there now. So that is the shifter in. Once you've got that in, this goes in next. As you can maybe just about see, because it's all white, it's difficult to pick up. The smaller taper wants to go face down. So there's a big taper at the top and the small taper at the bottom, and then that just drops into there like that. Press down on it if you've got it the right way, there shouldn't be any movement in it. So once you've got all that shifter in, next up you want to put these banana clips in. It wants to go that way down, so it's got cut out. It wants to go that way facing down, and it just tucks into a little channel around the outside. You can see this one here that I've already put in. It's just in a little channel around the outside, and then this piece goes in after that. You want to make sure corner that doesn't have the two screws either side of the hole goes in the bottom left corner like that. So that wants to go in like that, and then you've got these little grub screws that go in too, and they come out the bottom. That is to adjust any play in them, so that just drops on over the top like that. And then these countersunk Allen key bolts go through here and bolt up onto those banana clips. So next up, it says to put these two pieces together. It says to use thread locker on it. I don't actually have any thread locker at the moment, so I'm just going to make sure I can get as tight as I can, and then later down the line I'll put, when I can get hold of some thread locker, I'll put some thread locker on it. So yeah, it just wants to screw into there and like that. And then that is the piece that drops on top. You just want to tighten these 4mm Allen keys up, just nip them. They don't, it says on the instructions that they don't need to be really tight, they just need nipping up. This is actually my second time doing this because I didn't read the instructions properly the first time and I messed it up a little bit. So just, yeah, take your time, make sure you read the instructions properly, and I would definitely take your time to read the instructions, because nothing goes the way I would assume it would go. So once they are tight, you just want to get your shift lever on. Yeah, just want to pull around and make sure there's no play, and as you can see, there is absolutely no play in that whatsoever. So once you've done that, these little grub screws just want tightening up. If there is play in your shifter, you just need to adjust it by using these screws. So what you would do is just loosen these 4mm, yeah, just tighten them down to take out any play, and then tighten your clamp back up again. So that is the way to do it if you do need to make an adjustment. But yeah, like I say, mine seems absolutely perfect there, and you can actually adjust it if it's too tight as well. So next step up is you need these tiny little countersunk Allen key bolt, and then this second billet bit goes over the top. The Cube Speed logo wants to be in the bottom left hand side. That is why earlier on we put this corner in the bottom left hand side, which didn't have any bolts in. So yeah, that just drops over the top like that, and then your countersunk bolts just drop into the hole. So once you got them in, they just need tightening down. They're a 2.5mm Allen key. I had some trouble trying to find a 2.5mm. For some reason I've got about 10 sets of Allen keys, and there was only one set that had a 2.5mm in it. It took me a while to find, but yeah, I've got it now, so we're all good. I was panicking for a little bit. I'll just tighten these down and then we'll go on to the next step. So once all that's back together, next up is this rubber boot. You can see on there's a little arrow facing the front. It's got F on. That basically just wants to go to the front. So yeah, I've messed up again. So yeah, that shift lever has to come off. So that's your cover on. You can see it stretches over. It took a bit of fiddling to get it to go over. And so I'm gonna install the shifter again now. Yeah, the nut wants to go on first because you need that to lock it. So I'm just going to wind it down to about that height, and you do definitely need some thread locker on the top of this. When I'm unscrewing it, it just comes loose really easy, so I'm going to have to get some thread locker for that at some point, but for now it'll just have to do. So that is it all back together. Yes, it's just so much less play. The whole thing was just loads better quality. I'm just going to stick all the trim back on, and as you can see, it doesn't center itself because the springs are too weak. So they give you these springs in here. You actually have to install underneath the car. So I'm gonna go do that now. So they give you a set of centering springs, which are these smaller ones, and then two sets of large springs. One's heavier duty than the other, and basically the more tension in them, the quicker it'll ping back into the middle. So it says on the instructions here that firm springs, it increases 50% over stock. Firm springs and the helper springs, which are the smaller springs, it increases it by 70%. Heavy duty springs increases it by 160%, and the heavy duty springs and the helper springs increase it by 255%. I think what I'm going to do is just chuck the heavy duty springs in on their own and see how that goes, and then from there I can decide whether I want to go down to the firm springs and helper springs, or if I want to go up to the heavy duty springs and the helper springs. So let's stick all this trim back together, and then we'll go into the car and sort that out now. The bolts that you want out, so that's the prop shaft going into the back of the gearbox, and then up there you can just see that one that's in the center of the camera now. That is the one you want to get off, and there is one either side of the gearbox. You can see there again. They're 27mm, so they just want to pop out, and that's where the spring's going. So that's what's come out of it. I tried to use a ratchet with a 27mm socket on, but it's too tight, you can't get it in. So I used a 27mm ring spanner and with the ring end on it. You don't want to, I try and avoid using an open-ended spanner on it if you can. So that came out with this spring in the center, and you can see the new springs are actually wider diameter, so they don't fit in with the old plugs. So they give you a set of new plugs as well, and yeah, they go in there with a wider and stronger spring in, and you can see how much that's me compressing that one. And then the original one that came out is like, I can almost squash it right down, so it's considerably stronger. So I'm just going to put that back in now. So I've got the spring in both sides now. Yeah, you can see they're the original ones that came out. Pretty flimsy spring in them. That is the shifter all changed, and that's the one that came out of it. You can see it's just, the new one is just a much more substantial piece of kit. You can see the play in that one compared, because basically you use the original bushing, but the original bushing isn't meant to be placed in that placement. So yeah, it just wobbles around all over the place, and yeah, that's it. So I think I'm probably going to need to adjust it slightly. It's a little bit tight. I think I'm probably going to have to just make a few adjustments to loosen it up a little bit. It doesn't seem to be springing back into the middle as well as it should, because I think I've maybe adjusted the tightness a little bit too much. Anyway, I'm going to go take it for a drive now and see how much of an improvement it's made. So it turned out that quite a lot of the rattle was actually the gear knob. So this gear knob is just like a universal gear knob, and then it has like little screws in the side that clamp it down in the middle, so you just tighten them up. It was rattling around like mad, even though that it was tight, and I didn't want to keep tightening it because I didn't want to damage the top of the shifter, so I just decided to get rid of that one. I did find an Impulse gear knob that would have gone perfect with my Impulse steering wheel, but it was 120 quid and it was secondhand and it needed refurbing. At the moment, I just don't have 120 quid worth spending on a gear knob. I've got so much other stuff on the car that needs sorting out. So I just bought a cheap gear knob. I've used one before on one of my other cars and it was all right. Fake Chinese gear knob, just like a neochrome one. I was going to get one of the carbon fiber ones, but they didn't have any left in stock. I had a carbon fiber one in my Micra and I really liked it, so I just went for one of these. It was like £8. So yeah, so there's just like 3 little adapters in it like this, all different size, and it's threaded for the gear knob on the outside, but the inside is not threaded. Basically they just do that because sometimes you might have like a 1.25 thread or a 1.5 thread, so it just makes it that it will fit anything because it just threads itself basically. Yeah, it'll turn and it'll thread the plastic as you turn it on. So the best thing I find with these little universal ones is yeah, just wind it into the gear knob first, and then you've got something to hold on to when you're turning it onto the gear stick. Yeah, just wind that on like that. Just have to be careful not to like do it too tight, because you will just strip the plastic, which is one of the downsides of it, but you can't argue for 8 quid. It's a pretty nice looking gear knob for that money. There we go. It feels pretty good as well, actually, to be fair. Yeah, I'll stick a link to that in the description down below if you're interested in one. Can't argue with that for the price. So yeah, that is my Cube Speed short shifter. If you found the video helpful, make sure you leave a like on the video and don't forget to subscribe if you aren't already, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.